will Trump be arrested or not? Over the weekend, the former president announced on his social media platform Truth Social that he has leaked information from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office that he will be arrested on Tuesday. And then today, Alex Jones with InfoWars claims that he has inside information that confirms the DA will indict as early as Tuesday and issue an arrest warrant for President Trump. He will then travel as early as Tuesday, probably Wednesday or Thursday, to Manhattan with the Secret Service to be placed in handcuffs and maybe even put in jail, according to InfoWars. So what exactly are these charges? With us now is famed attorney and author Alan Dershowitz. He has worked with many clients such as Mike Tyson, Harvey Weinstein, Julian Assange, Jeffrey Epstein, and most famously Donald Trump in his first impeachment trial. And he recently wrote the book, Get Trump: The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law. Mr. Dershowitz, thank you so much for joining the show.
Well, thank you.
These charges, this is about hush money. Is that really what we're talking about here? And wasn't this more like a misdemeanor and now this is a felony of some kind? Like, can you help break this down for us?
It isn't even a misdemeanor. It's a sin, not a crime. He committed adultery. He denies it. Most people will believe it happened. And then he paid to settle the case. And the reason he paid was obviously to avoid embarrassment to his wife, to his family, to his business, to his campaign. And I don't even think it's a misdemeanor. They have to prove that it was fraudulent. Whenever you sign a non-disclosure and pay hush money, obviously you're not going to put in your records, I paid hush money to avoid having disclosed the fact that I had an adulterous affair with a porn star. Obviously, you're going to say it's a legal fee, and in some respects, it is a legal fee because it settled the lawsuit. So it's not even a misdemeanor. And then they try to make it into a felony by claiming that the reason he did that was to cover up a federal crime, namely campaign contribution. That was obviously the last thing in his mind, a campaign contribution, which almost nobody gets indicted for. Obviously, what was in his mind was to avoid this thing coming out and being made public. So there are so many stretches, contortions, and convolutions that this would never, ever get better than a D- on a law school exam.
Why are they stretching with this one? I mean, they're talking about arresting him. They're talking about holding him in jail, not allowing him to make bail because they're saying that they're afraid of riots that would potentially break out around the country. Although it seems to me that if you keep him in jail, there would be more likely for that to happen than if he were to be released. Why do you think they're going after this particular thing? I mean, there's many other things that they've been looking into, trying to find some criminal act, and they're landing on this.
Well, there's no they. Each prosecutor is looking at this independently and looking at their own selfish interests. They're not going to put him in jail. They're not going to deny bail. That would be so unconstitutional. He has the right to organize protests. You have a right to protest. It's in the First Amendment. The right to petition the government for redress of grievances. I was part of the civil rights movement. We protested in the South. Nobody, they did try to deny bail for people back then, and they did try to target people for prosecution, but that was the bad old days. I can't imagine them trying to do that in New York. Look, these are attempts to get Trump. I wrote a book about that entitled Get Trump, and I wrote that book based on the campaign pledge of the Attorney General of New York. Her campaign was, I will get Trump. I will get Trump. The reason I wrote this book, Get Trump, and I entitled it Get Trump, is it was part of Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York's campaign. She campaigned on the promise to get Trump. And the district attorney of New York also has sworn to get Trump. And even though the federal prosecutors declined prosecuting and Bragg's predecessor declined prosecuting, Bragg decided to do it, that he knows no limits on getting Trump, and it will make him popular in New York City and probably get him campaign contributions from George Soros and other woke progressives, but it will set back the rule of law. This is one of the worst abuses of prosecutorial discretion I've seen in 60 years of practicing law.
So do you think, because you're saying there's no they, this is just these individual DAs with their own political ambitions. Do
Right.
you really think that that's what it is? Or do you think that, because a lot of people are suspecting that this is a big Democrat Party plot, that they have been trying to, as you wrote in your book, they've been trying to get Trump this whole time I guess, stop him from running again, stop him from leading the country, from being in charge in the White House. So how much do you really think that this is just the individual DA operating on their own political whim? Or do you think that this is more, like some people say, the big George Soros funded operation to get Trump? I mean, how much of that comes into play here, do you think?
There's a little bit of truth in both. Every independent prosecutor does what they think is in their best interest. If this were as coordinated as some people say it is, obviously the federal government would have gone after him for a campaign contribution, or the predecessor to Bragg would have indicted him for the records case, but neither did it. And so I suspect it was an individual decision by a very ambitious district attorney to go first, to be the first one out of the box, and to go after him. I don't know whether there'll be prosecutions in the Florida classified material case or in the Georgia telephone case or in the January 6th speech case, but so far, this is the only one. This is the weakest of all the cases, the weakest legally, the weakest factually, and the weakest politically. But it's New York. And in New York, you can get the grand jury to indict a ham sandwich, and you can probably get the petty jury to convict the tuna sandwich if it bears the name of Donald Trump. So, they worked for years trying to find something on him, and they've come up with a mouse named Mickey. This is a Mickey Mouse prosecution that isn't worthy of the District Attorney of New York. That was a great office. It was headed by great people like Robert Morgenthau and Hogan and others, and now they've disgraced the office by making up criminal charges in order to get Trump.
So you say this is the weakest of all of the potentials. What's the
That's right.
strongest?
The strongest is the classified information case, but they were not going to go after him because if they go after Trump and don't go after Biden and Pence, people are going to say, oh my God, it's selective justice. And why go after one for classified material but not the other? So I don't think they will, even though it's the strongest case factually. The most
Hmm.
dangerous case is probably the January 6th case, because if he were convicted of sedition, he might not be able to run for president. But I don't think he can be convicted because the speech itself, which I despise, I thought it was wrong to make it, but the speech itself is constitutionally protected. The president said he wants people to peacefully and patriotically go to the Capitol and demonstrate. That's within the First Amendment.
Well, he's doing it again now, isn't he? With this, with his announcement on
Well,
Trump
he's
Social saying,
allowed.
"I'm going to be arrested. Go out there
Yeah.
and protest."
Well, he's allowed to do that. As I say, civil rights workers did that. People do that all the time. You're not allowed to protest right outside of a jury room and influence the jury, but you are allowed to protest prosecutorial decisions. And it's done all the time. It was done after the killing of George Floyd, the opposite. They protested that people weren't prosecuted. And if you can protest people not being prosecuted, surely you can protest people being prosecuted.
Do you think the American people can have some sort of legal recourse against even the DA, the Manhattan DA, for example, for interfering in the political process?
No, no, you wouldn't have standing to do that. You can't show that you were individually hurt. No, there's no such thing really as a lawsuit by the American people against the district attorney. The only recourse is in the court of public opinion. And that's why I wrote my book, Get Trump. I want people to read it. I want people to buy it. I want them to send a message to Bragg and others that there are people out there who are watching you and there are people out there who are holding you accountable. That's why I wrote Get Trump. I want to hold him accountable. I want to hold him accountable to history. I want to hold him accountable to the law of public opinion. And I think that's the only effective way of doing it. I don't believe in street riots or demonstrations or violence. They have the right to demonstrate, but it's not something I would want to participate in. I think writing letters is a better way of dealing with it.
Right. Mr. Dershowitz, while I have you here, I covered the Jeffrey Epstein case extensively, and your name came up quite
Right.
often. Virginia
Yep.
Giuffre actually accused you, then later backtracked, say that she had made a mistake. There were others who had also accused you, but you had said that they couldn't properly identify you or certain parts of you, and
No, no,
therefore,
no. it wasn't identified. It's that one woman said she saw me walking up the stairs of Epstein's house at a time years before I'd ever met Epstein. So that was just a complete made up story. And the other woman had written a series of letters to the New York Post claiming she had videotapes of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton having sex together, and have many other people. And then, of course, she backed away from all of it. And I've been completely, totally exonerated and vindicated. I never met any of these people. I never heard of them. I defended Jeffrey Epstein the way I've defended hundreds of other people, some guilty, some innocent. But I did absolutely nothing wrong. I've been completely exonerated. I've been completely vindicated. I'm completely innocent. I've never touched anybody sexually since the day I met my wife during the relevant time period. And so I did nothing wrong, and nobody who's ever accused me has done it with any evidence or any credibility. So I'm happy to go on with my life. Let them go on with their lives, but
Right.
categorically, unequivocally, I did nothing wrong.
So you do admit that you did receive a massage at his mansion?
No, what happened is my wife got a massage at his house, and then I had a neck and shoulder massage from a woman named Olga, who was like 45 years old. Virtually everybody who went to any of Jeffrey Epstein's houses got therapeutic massages. They were offered to everybody, but I've never had a sexual massage or anything improper. I've never been touched by an underage person. So no, that's not true at all.
Okay.
What else? You have
Now,
anything else you want to throw at me? Okay.
just a couple
I
more
did
things.
absolutely nothing wrong. Yeah.
Okay. Well, many of us suspect that Jeffrey Epstein was an asset to Mossad, and that Ghislaine Maxwell was,
That's
in
just
fact, an agent of Mossad. There's a lot of
totally
evidence that
nonsense.
point to this direction, and
No,
that
there's
they
no
were
evidence.
operating a blackmail operation in
Yeah.
order to get very powerful people, including people like yourself, in precarious positions to where you could potentially work on behalf of the state of Israel or protect the
Well,
state of
I've
Israel
been
in
working
some
on
way.
the state of Israel. I've been working for the state of Israel since before you were born. Jeffrey Epstein once visited me in Israel. He had never been there. He didn't know anybody in Israel. He didn't work for the Mossad. The Mossad wouldn't hire him. And I hope he had videotapes of everybody, because they would show I never did anything improper. I have one other question. Are you used to having people come on your show to talk about one subject and then sandbagging them on another subject without any warning? Because it's nice to know you do that, and it will make certain that I have nothing to hide. I'm happy to talk about any of this, but I'm used
Actually,
to
we
more ethical journalism.
no, we actually did notify the people who booked you onto the show that you would be asked about Epstein, and they assured us that you were aware
No,
of
they
this.
never notified me about that, and you'd have to show me that email.
Okay. One last question. Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
No, of course not. Well, he didn't kill himself without the help of some people. He did kill himself, but he killed himself with the help of guards. He didn't do it by himself. He couldn't have done that. Obviously, though, the videos were turned off, and the guards turned their back, and his cellmate left. So I think he killed himself, but he killed himself with the assistance of some people in law enforcement.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dershowitz, thank you so much for joining the show. Appreciate you
Well,
being
it's the
here.
last time. It's the last time you'll have me on your show, so take advantage of it.
I think I got what I needed out of you. Thank you very much.
Well, you got what you wanted. Thank you.
Well, in full honesty and transparency with you guys, that interview was actually pre-recorded a couple of hours ago. This is now live, but that interview was recorded, and I do want to show the proof that we did actually let his booking team know that we would be asking questions about Epstein. Many of you know that I have covered the Jeffrey Epstein case for a very long time, and there was no way I was going to have Alan Dershowitz on my show and not talk about Jeffrey Epstein, not ask him questions. That's just not who I am. Those of you who watch the show know that. You expect these questions from me. He clearly did not. However, This is the evidence right here. If Mr. Dershowitz is watching, Kim said yes to Dershowitz today at 3:30 p.m. Pacific. She has to bring up Epstein, FYI. Let me know if Dershowitz can do today or tomorrow. Today is better. His booking agent said, I'll check with D. He's back to back today. So today might not work or now work. Not really sure if that was a misspelling. He obviously did appear on the show today. He was very unhappy. We did receive a lot of phone calls and frantic text messages after the interview. He was apparently very upset with the interview. Did ask for the team that surrounds him to do something about it, to maybe, we were asked on our end to edit the interview or not air the interview. That is just not what I'm going to do. You guys know who I am. You know I'm going to tell the truth. You know that I'm going to be asking these types of questions. That's your expectation of me on this show. It's something that we wish I would have been able to do with Anthony Fauci if I would have had the opportunity to interview him. I'm going to ask those questions. Mr. Dershowitz is an attorney who's been asking tough questions his entire career. He should expect that when he shows up on a show, people are going to ask him tough questions in exchange. That is what I would think that he would just know walking into an interview, that is going to happen, that people aren't going to softball and just skip over one of the most controversial aspects of his very long career. And he's got a lot of controversy, but that one is the biggest one. Whatever, ask the questions, he's upset. So he has defended himself. I didn't go deeper into the accusations with the women. He talked about that on his own. I was hoping to move on towards the other questions that I had regarding the accusations or the suspicions that many have around Ghislaine Maxwell, who she works for. Same thing with Jeffrey Epstein, but we didn't have a lot of time to get to that point. But he did spend quite a bit of time defending himself in his book, Guilt by Accusation, where he goes over the accusations against him and clears his name from his perspective. So he's put that out there. And, so anyway, there have been, look, the booking agent is very worried about losing her job. There's maybe pressure. I don't know if she's feeling pressured about that. I don't know if there's a threat there, an actual threat there. I would hope not. Mr. Dershowitz should know if he's going to go on a show, he's going to be asked this question, and I don't think any booking agent can actually protect him from that. And also there's been some discussion from the publishing house that we would no longer be receiving guests from them because of this particular interview. And again, what do you expect? I'm honest with my audience. So there it is. I would hope that's not the case. I would hope that we receive more guests from that publishing house. Many of the guests are beloved by audiences, have written great books, have covered many great subjects, and we would love to have them back. But yeah, I'm gonna do what I do, guys. I mean, it is what it is. All right, we are going to move on with the show, and let's now talk about the sponsor for today's show, Field of Greens. It's a great product that keeps me in my tip-top shape mentally so that I can ask the questions that you expect me to ask, right? I get all of my fruits and vegetables, guys. That's how I do it. And I do it through Field of Greens, which is an organic powder that is no extracts whatsoever in this. You just mix it into your drink or you mix it into your food, and you're going to get your power pack of all those fruits and vegetables, all the nutrients you need through that Field of Greens powder. It's not the cheapest stuff in the world, I'm not going to lie to you, but it's very high quality and it tastes good. I really like the lemon lime flavor. I mix it into my ice water and it tastes like green tea with lemon. It's delicious. So try that out. Go to fieldofgreens.com, enter the promo code Kim to get 15% off your first order. That is fieldofgreens.com. Use the promo code Kim.